Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Katelyn, and probably by the title you saw that I am designing some D&D characters today. So for the past, actually like 5 years, it's pretty crazy that it's already been 5 years. I've been a part of a D&D podcast called the Roaring D20s. Myself and a couple of friends started this podcast back during the pandemic, and we've been still going strong. I love this crew. Like, we have such a blast and we get into so many shenanigans. I love this podcast so much. So if you haven't checked it out already, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically all the podcasts out there under the Roaring D20s. But today I wanted to give the characters a little bit of a facelift. We're about to launch the 4th season of our podcast this Saturday, and I haven't really redrawn these characters since 2020. So it has been a hot minute since these characters have received any love and update for their look. And I mean, a lot has changed in 4 seasons. Our characters are so different from how they started, so I really wanted to make sure this new season we had our new look, especially because we're going to be doing some more like cute little animatics and different things highlighting the characters and things that happen in the show. So I wanted to make sure like we had a cool new look for everybody. So here's our old lineup from 2020. Quite a bit has changed over time, you know, like our looks kind of are a little bit the same, but we've had some outfit changes. I mean, I've respect as a cleric. Josh is still a spellcaster, but he's now a blade singer. Bartholomew is much more of a big stage performer type of bard. And Marcus, his outfit I think would change a lot more. I feel based off of some stuff that happened in season 3, it would have much more of a, I guess, detective, almost militaristic look to the outfit. So that needs a facelift too. So let's jump in, get some sketches started. We're going to start with my character because I've actually already redrawn half of her. I did the top half of the bust to go in our newest creature compendium for volume 2. So with that updated, I'm like, well, now I can do the rest of the body. So we're going to start off with like the bust that I already drew, flesh out the rest of the character, and then we're going to go through everybody else's characters. So let's jump in and get that started. All right, let's get started on these revamps. So the first thing I wanted to fix right off the bat was the character, I guess, sizing differences. It's been really cool to see how much I've progressed as an artist, especially in this one, because all the characters, like I said, were originally drawn in 2020 when we started the podcast. And with that, I can see drastically how my people drawing has changed. Like, in the original one, there's like feet that are placed in weird angles and they're not like on the same plane or anything. Everyone's proportions are different. So like they don't really match up with each other with the heights they're supposed to be. There were so many errors in my old one that I see very clearly now after drawing a lot more people and doing a lot more practice. So that right off the bat, I'm like, okay, we can improve this drastically and actually get an accurate height chart of these characters, because the old one, I think the only person that was the correct height was Gork. That was a character that we had through season 2. It was my friend Jacob. He had to step away from the podcast, so we're down to 4 players. But I think Gork was the only one that I drew to correct proportions. He was basically this giant half orc, and he wanted to be very tall, very beefy, and I nailed his proportions, but everyone else's were all over the place. So for this one, like I said, I got a height chart so then I could make sure everyone was like the correct height and shape to each other. And then I wanted to do some body differentiation because I think the previous ones, either everyone was just like the same or I just made them thin. I don't know. I didn't make them look interesting and different, at least in my opinion. So I wanted to make sure that each of them had their own different like body proportions and look and height. I wanted to nail it all, especially because I want to reuse this art both on like social media and maybe put different emotions to the poses so then we can have little animatics. So I just wanted them to be as correct as possible. And with this one too, I decided to add our equipment. Because the last one, I think I only had like my character carrying her monster tracking book thing. But I didn't have any other really substantial equipment for the rest of the crew. And I'm like, we need to give some love to the equipment that we have as characters. So I didn't mind adding those in for these drawings. And then, yeah, so I went through, and especially here for my character, I wanted to add some more armor because I am now officially a cleric of nature, and that means I need armor. So I was going back and forth on exactly what that armor would entail. And I compared my old character to my new one in terms of like thinking about what colors could carry over and what shapes we could bring over, because I did really like her boots from my old design, but I wanted to expand on them a little more and get some better armor for them. So that's kind of what I had in mind going into this. And then we for sure had to do the shield, which we actually brought this up like between Scott and I imagined her having like a wooden shield for this, but you know, it could be like, or I guess it should be more metal to be a better, I guess, protective shield. But I don't know. I still really like the wood shield. I think it will look really nice. I think it matches the whole cleric of nature situation. But I really like that my character is now a cleric. I think it fits her very well. I think she's been doing well with like the whole transition into that role and everything. And then it just like, I just love her outfit. I really enjoyed adding like the cool chainmail, some better like padding to her knees. Like, I think it just really sold the character and what I wanted originally with mine. And the main reason for the respec is when I first made the character, I was thinking of the Ranger from 3.5, which is very different from the 5th edition Ranger. They are totally different, and I feel like the poor 5th edition Ranger got totally nerfed. I guess it's much better with the new, it's the new 5 update. I don't even remember what it's called, but I guess that fixed the Ranger, but I'm like, well, it's too late. I spec'd as a cleric, and here we are. So that was like kind of the main reason. There is some other like story elements that go into it as well, but I don't want to spoil anything in case anyone is interested in listening to the podcast. But I think this fits her very well. And yes, it is a self-insert. So enjoy that little snippet. It's basically like the podcast is like me collecting the animals for my creature compendium. That's kind of the idea. And then next up, I started working on Bartholomew. I wanted him to be a lot more charismatic looking, and I had some feedback and edits from Jesse as well, because I feel all of the characters have evolved a lot over the years. Like, we had a certain kind of vision in mind for them when we started the show, and all of that has changed substantially. Like, the characters have grown and changed, our viewpoints on them has changed, and then like things that actually happened in the show have completely altered our character's personality and outlook. So I really wanted to get his more performer look and give him much more of a sassy smile, very not full of it. Well, I guess he was full of himself, but I just wanted to convey that a little better with his character. And then in season 3, he ends up becoming a very prolific stage performer for a bard. So I needed to nail that a little bit more and make him look the part. I wanted him to look fancy. I wanted him to look more bard-like, more charismatic, more into his craft, I guess. And then I think another fun thing to see is basically the change from 2020 to now with even just my hair rendering. If you look at the old Bartholomew hair, it was just like this weird giant foof that like hung out on his forehead. It just was just a crazy mess. It looked really weird. Now looking back, I mean, back then I thought it was like kind of like he looked disheveled or whatever, and I'm like, wait, he looks way too disheveled. So with this one, I wanted him to still have like kind of the messy do, but it looks like it's done a little bit more purposefully, and it has more of like a natural curl to it. And I think I could finally nail it. Like after practicing hair and practicing character design, I'm like, oh my God, I can draw curly hair and it looks okay instead of just like this weird fluff on top of a head. So I was very proud to see that progress even in those little bits. And then, of course, I had to include his instrument, another wonderful, fun, weird thing to draw. It's like buildings, instruments, and cars are very weird because they have to be drawn in a certain perspective or they just don't look right. But, you know, it's there. I think it looks great. And then, yeah, just I got stuck in and colored and added some different aspects. Jesse gave me some really good feedback for the overall costume. It's based off of oh my gosh, David Bowie, that's his name, and his Labyrinth costume. And I wanted to do that, but also carry over some of the original colors from his OG outfit, because I really loved the reds and the purples for him. So we started with that, and then he also picked up a billowing cloak. I think it was back in season 1 that he got this billowing cloak that could change to whatever color he wants. And I totally forgot about it. Like, he brings it up here and there, but I'm glad that he mentioned, he's like, hey, for sure, put the cool cloak on my character. I'm like, I got you. I can do that. So I was really pleased with that. I ended up sending it off to him for approval before I did the shading. So I'm jumping over to Uther now to get started on his character. So for Josh's character, it's really interesting because the old design, I feel I was channeling some type of weird Final Fantasy situation, because he's a wizard and I gave him these like metal pauldrons and like different aspects that I feel didn't really fit his character. There was probably some reason I added that back in the day. Like maybe there was an inspiration that Josh and I were like talking about for his character. I don't know. Something with it, it got added for some reason. But for this new version, I wanted it to be a little bit more practical and actually fit him being a wizard. For example, like he wouldn't wear armor. He would either be wearing clothing, or I think wizards can wear leather armor. They just can't go any heavier. It's either clothing or leather, because anything heavier, it's just like you can't cast spells per like the D&D rules. So for this one, I did kind of a little bit of inspiration from his mentor that he gets in season 3. I thought it could have kind of like some layers and more of an Assassin's Creed feel to it. And now that he's a blade singer, he needs to be able to move around a lot, but also like not be constricted in his clothing. So I added like something that he could move in, something that billowed a little bit better and he could become flexible in. And then I added a little bit of padding for his forearms. I'm picturing just kind of like leather on his forearms and on his legs to just at least protect him while he's dueling or, you know, sword fighting. He doesn't only do that. He also has like his wand, and he also has a wand of magic missile. So I just wanted to make sure he could still use magic per, I guess, D&D rules and law. And then with that too, it was really nice to like update his look. Uther's been through a lot. He's been through a lot within the series. He still has a pretty good disposition, but I feel like this campaign has like aged him a bit with different things that have happened to us and his character. And he's become like a little bit more of a serious character, but still like playful and fun. And I wanted to show that a little bit better with this design. So I feel like I was really happy with his expression. It seems like, I don't know, I guess the best way to describe it is he seems like kind of a little tired. It's been a long journey, a long campaign, but he still has at least a little bit of hope in his eyes, you know? And then it was just nice to give him a nice haircut, an updated look, just for his face and hair in general. And then just like with Bartholomew, I tried to carry over the same colors. I wanted him to still be primarily like in the purples and blue range, but I didn't want it to conflict too much with Bartholomew's purples. So I kept him more in like the lavenders for his main clothing area. And then I hit it with a couple of different shades of purple from his old outfit as well. I think it turned out really cool. I love the color combo, so I was very pleased with it. And then, at least for this part, I got the approval from Jesse for Bartholomew's look. He just gave me a little bit of feedback on some things to adjust, gave Bartholomew some wonderful eyeshadow, and just did a little bit of updates to him. But it was time to get stuck into the shading and the highlights and just really wrap up what Bartholomew looks like for our new seasons. I'm getting close to finishing up, wrapping up Bartholomew and his look. I wanted to add a little bit of adornment to his loot, just to give it a little bit more of a fancy edge, because I feel he would have at least some type of pattern on it. And with that too, I got approval from Josh for how Uther looked. So I also got stuck in and got to shading and highlighting for this one. This one was a little bit easier just because I feel Bartholomew has like a lot of little details. But Uther, he had some bigger chunks where I could just do like larger parts of shading. And I love his big poofy pants. So I just got stuck in, got some more shading done, and wrapped up Uther's new look as well. And then next up was the hardest character, which I was very surprised, which was Marcus Whalen or Tedric Taylor, depending on what season and what alias he's going by. But this one I was kind of struggling with. Like, I was trying to think of it in my brain, and I had to actually look up a lot of reference for this one because I wanted it to have like a militaristic look, but I didn't want it to be like a uniform per se. I wanted it to still have its own original feel, without it being too like patriotic uniform, if that makes sense. And at first, like, I was like struggling with how to picture it and exactly what it would look like. But after I got the coat done, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got it. We're good. And I just ran with it because after that, it was so much easier because the coat, I think, was just the hardest part to figure out. And then from there, the rest of the uniform just came together so nicely and it all matched together really well. And I love this for Tedric. Like, the original outfit, I think, was okay. It just was weird with where I placed the padding and how it all worked with armor, because I don't think I looked up any reference for Tedric's original armor. And it shows. I feel like it wasn't as strong back then. And this one, I looked up a lot of other military uniforms and other inspiration and reference, and that helped a ton to inform this final design. And I am so pleased with this one, and Chris really liked it as well. Got the full approval after I did the line art and the flat colors, and it makes me so happy that our rogue got like an amazing facelift for this. I also had to add a little magnifying glass on his belt since he is the detective of the crew. And then I also carried over some of the colors from the original one, because I still liked him in the greens and browns, and it makes sense for someone who's always hiding in the shadows to have those darker colors. And if we're out in nature, it's a lot easier for him to hide within those colors. And it just translated so well. I think this one came together really nicely, even though this was probably the one I was most intimidated by and most, I guess, stressed about. I just wanted to make sure I nailed it. And what's really nice is, like, I get to revisit the look of all these characters and really nail like the hairstyles, so we all look a little different. Everyone's facial structure is different. Eye colors, everything came together so nicely. And it was so cool to revisit these characters after 5 years. Like, I can't believe we've been making the podcast this long. So thank you those who listen for all these years. This has been such a fun show to make. And there we go. We are all done with our Roaring D20s facelifts. I love how we all turned out. I think this really matches all of our characters, matches our new looks when we had like some updates. Like with me, I need more of like an armor look compared to my old ranger look. And then with Josh, with being a blade singer, I wanted his like sword to be a little bit more prevalent. Bartholomew, we had to get his cool billowing cape because he got that seasons ago, and I'm like, he needs to have it on his character. And then I love how Marcus or Tedric's outfit turned out. A much more militaristic, clean-cut detective look. I think he looks awesome. I really love how everyone turned out on this. And if you're interested in Real Play D&D podcast, I would super appreciate it if you checked out our podcast. Like, I feel we have such good role play, and like all the characters are great. So I think you would really enjoy it, and we would really appreciate the support. This is kind of like our little passion project that we have on the side of all of our jobs and other things. So if you would like to go check it out, we are, like I said, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But if you want to get episodes early, we have a Patreon specifically for the Roaring D20s where we post like behind the scenes stuff. We have a Patreon post show that you can listen to over there as well and check it out. But we would really appreciate your support, or a couple listens. It'd be awesome. But with that too, I want to give a shout out to my patrons for this art channel. Thank you so much for supporting me. If you guys would like to join the mail club, get some behind the scenes access to other artwork, and just maybe see what I'm working on, you can go check out the Patreon. I also release a monthly podcast of like the progress of me starting my own business and making art full time. So if you want to listen to that, you can go check it out on Patreon as well. We also have this month's mail club where this is the last chance for you to get this print, this sticker, and the sticker sheet. It's for this month's theme. So if you'd like to get any of these, you can join the mail club before the end of the month, and I will ship them to you in February. And again, thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. Likes, comments, subscribes, all of it is super appreciated. Sharing is also awesome. So thank you guys so much for your support in my little art business here. But either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.